All right, welcome back. Okay, this is part B of the previous video about me going to court and testifying on an interesting and kind of complicated case. So here we go. I'm up on the stand, and I gave him his rights in Spanish. And so the attorneys, these are pretty smart guys, and he says, well, I want the officer to go in voir dire. Okay, now what voir dire is they bring a translator up. He needed a translator too, obviously. They bring another translator in. She stands next to me on the stand. He asks me a question. I say it in Spanish, and the translator says it in English. And what that is it's a test to see if I can speak Spanish. And then he cross-examines me in English. I answer in Spanish, and she translates in English. It sounds stupid, but this is the only way they can see if the officer speaks Spanish. Since I gave him his rights in Spanish, they want to see if I speak. I'm fine. I'm ready to go. Let's bring it on, man. No problem. So they bring another translator. Remember now, guess who's paying for all this? Well, you are, of course. Okay, the public. So translator down there, translator over here. Everybody's in there. Okay. So I gave him his rights in Spanish, and I say that in English, and then they say, read the rights in Spanish. So I read them in Spanish, and then she translates in English. I hope this is clear. Right? I hope it's clear how this comes out. Okay. So then, what did you ask him? Did you ask him? Did he waive his rights? Yes. Yes. See. Yes. See. Yes. Okay. Anyway, what did he say? And I said, I asked him if the tar heroin was his. And I said that in Spanish. Okay? She said, I asked him if the tar was his. And so she says that in English. And now, here's where I've got 3 hash marks, 15 years on almost, well, more than 15 years on. Been in court a couple of 100 times. Know how these attorneys play the game. I have an attorney friend, he just shakes his head and smiles because I know the system really well. Criminal. And I know juries. Juries, they always say showtime. The D's will say that. When you come out, it's showtime. Because you got 12 jurors, 4 alternates. They're watching everything you do. They watch your clothes, how the women, DAs are wearing their hair, everything. Everything. So now, here comes my Academy Award. I look at the defense attorney. This is what I did. I wish you could see my eyes, but I go like this. I look at him and I go, and now when I say that, everybody, there's dead silence because you're supposed to give an answer, right? I didn't give an answer. I went, I look at like this at the judge. He looks at me, I go, that's not what I said. Okay. Okay. And but I am sincere in the sense that it's not what I said, but I'm making it sound, I'm looking at it real dramatic because I want the jurors to see that this is hard for me to say this, which really is easy for me to say this because it's not a big deal, but to anybody watching, they're going, oh my gosh, they got these translators, and he just said that's not what he said. Psychological warfare. I got a pair of 2s, you got a pair of aces, you're going to fold. Okay? So now the judge says, okay. Judge says, excuse me? Everybody looks out. Everybody just stops. He says, we're going to take a break right now because we're going to have a sidebar discussion with the defense attorneys. Want the juries not to infer or imply or anything, think that anything's going on here other than usual. This happens all the time. So your excuse. The jurors all leave. Everybody's gone. They close the doors. The judge. Everybody's in place here. The judge looks at me and he said, "Okay, detective, we're off out of the jury's view. What are you saying? That's not the term I used for tar heroin." She gave out the wrong translation, and now everybody looks at her. Remember though, I'm just a cop. I speak Tex-Mex. I speak Cal-Mex. I don't speak fluent Spanish from Lisbon, Portugal, or Madrid. I speak something I learned in East LA and in the ghetto. Okay, so then he looks at her and says, "What? How do you explain that?" She goes, "Well, he has a different dialect than I do. He must be from a different region." And the judge says, "He's from America. What region?" I mean, he was already, and I'm just sitting there playing the really passive victim mode, which is what I do because I'm a professional, okay? So I sat there. So now the defense is up there. Well, Your Honor, it's all interpretation. And just, yeah, it is. But he says, I cannot have the officer in open court say that's not what I said and then force the jury to believe what she said that is what he said. Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, yes, Your Honor, but she said it's different dialects. No. So they're arguing back and forth. So here we go. This is a complete surprise on my part. They had a Cuban court reporter sitting right below the judge. And I don't remember her name. I'll call her Emily. It doesn't matter. I got a name made up here. He goes, Emily? And she looks up, and I'm thinking, uh-oh. She goes, yes, Your Honor. Who's correct on the terminology? The detective or the translator? And I went, whoa. She goes, the officer. Oh, that changed everything, okay? He looks at me and he says, just stay there, detective. Ma'am, you're excused. And she got I thought her head was going to explode, the translator, because she's an expert in translating. I'm sure she has a degree in Spanish. I don't care. I'm a cop, okay? So, well, Your Honor, this is wrong. I don't understand. She said, well, that's okay. You know, now he's using her defense. Well, you know, there's different dialects. So he's trying to get her off without saying, get out of here. Because that's what he said. You're excused. That's what they say in court. That's the word disingenuous. So somebody a liar. He said he was disingenuous. He's still lying, bro. Okay. So anyway, so her saying you're excused, like saying get the hell out of here. So like, okay, Your Honor. All right, fine. So off she goes. Of course, defense. Objection, Your Honor. Well, I overrule all that. You know, it's no. Get another translator. So they dismissed the jury for the lunch. It was like 10 o'clock. But we got to get it. So they call for another hearing back at 1:30. Okay. During the break, we go to the room afterwards. The DA and he just goes, "Wow, that was outstanding." He says, "Well, were you true about that?" "Yes, I am. I'm not going to lie in court, but I said something. I said like the moon is blue, and she said the moon is turquoise. It's not the same thing. Okay, it's one word, but that word could be key to this case." Right? He goes, yeah, that's true. If they're going to have somebody up here to check my Spanish, someone should check her Spanish. He goes, good point, good point. I said, I'm just telling you, I've done this. He goes, man, you are really good. I said, well, Counselor, I've been doing this for 17, 18 years now. He goes, no, I've only been here like 9. I said, well, I'm just telling you, I go to court every day. Well, not every day, but I go, I said every day, but I was exaggerating, but I go to court, used to go to court almost every day. And then now I go to court maybe 2 or 3 times a month because I do bigger cases. I don't have to go to court. Okay, so anyway. That was all right. Oh, that was brilliant. Okay, fine. So then we come back, new translator, jury's back, judge thanks him. He says we're gonna ask the question again. It was repeated. And even he told them, well, we had a problem with the translation from both the detective and the translator, so we're gonna do this all over again so you can understand what's going on here. So okay, I try to clean it up because he can't lean one way or the other because he's supposed to be neutral, right? Okay. Here we go again. I ask the question, I give my response, she does it in English. And as soon as she says in English, I look over at the judge like this. He looks at me and I go like this, and I turn back and he goes, okay, good. He looks at the counselors. Is that acceptable to you? Yes, Your Honor. Okay, thank you. So now we're over that hump. Okay. Once that happened, the judge says, as soon as that happened, he says, we don't do voir dire anymore. He goes, in my opinion, the officer can speak Spanish. We're not going to do this. It takes up too much time. We don't need to do this anymore. We don't have to have a whole afternoon of speaking Spanish here. He speaks Spanish. You're excused, so the translator leaves. She had no idea what happened. I'm sure they sat back in their ballroom and said, that guy badmouthed me. I'm sure they're doing that because they're all together, all the translators, I'm sure. But anyway, I don't care. Not my job. Okay. So now the trial continues. Now we're coming to some testimony that I said 3 weeks earlier or 4 weeks back in the preliminary hearing. Okay, now this is what attorneys do. They get the transcript of the preliminary hearing and put it in a 3-ring binder. Okay, and then when they cross-examine you the day of the trial with all the jurors sitting there, they open up the book and they ask you the same question they asked you a month ago or 3 weeks ago. Just see if you're going to screw up, to see if you're going to embellish, see if you're going to, well, like I've said all my stories and even my friends tell me, well, how can you remember all this? You know why I can remember all this? Because it's the truth. The truth is easy to regurgitate because it's the truth. It's the way it happened. You're not making stuff up, okay? So he's got this book. What about this? Okay, what about this? And they're going down the list. I'm looking at him going, okay, now we got to play. Now, this is like a day and a half after the other incident. Now I got to play another game here. You got an old horse here now. And if I had 2 years on the department, you could get me. Almost 20, you ain't going to get me. Okay. So you got a question I answered a little differently. The same way, but a little different. It goes like this. He's being dramatic too, because the jury's right here. He goes like this. Oh, he stands up. He puts a pencil down. He goes, Detective, didn't you just say on March 17th, something to the effect of blah 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 blah? I said, sir, it's a while ago, and I don't have a playbook in front of me like you do to answer that question. Objection, Your Honor. And the judge says, well, overruled. Are you quoting from a book? Well, yes, Your Honor. Okay, well, he's correct. I'm doing that for the jurors okay, because I can't remember exactly how I worded it. I want them to know that he's got a book, which they don't even notice. Once I said that, they're all looking. You see him writing, okay? Showtime, okay? So well, you know, Your Honor, well, you're asking specific questions a month ago. So then the district attorney says, Your Honor, can I say something? Okay, go ahead. Detective, after the preliminary hearing, how many cases were you involved in between then and now? I said 3. Were they your cases? Yes. And those three cases, what were you doing? Preparing search warrants and serving search warrants. Okay, no more questions. I'll ask you later. In other words, he's telling the jury that I'm not sitting around in a 4-room hotel with the transcripts in front of me waiting for me to go to trial. I'm going to work. You guys pay me to work every day. You don't pay me to sit around and study. I will study the night before. I will study the case, but not sit there and spend another 2 weeks ready for this trial. Okay, but he wanted to make me look like a fool. Ain't gonna happen. Okay, so then here we go. It continues. After all the little scuffling back and forth. He goes, okay, detective. Now back to March 17th. You remember that date, right? Kind of, sir. I don't have a calendar. I mean, I'm trying to screw him a little bit. Again, dramatics. He stands up again. Puts his pencil down. You know, detective, that's St. Patrick's Day. And remember, the whole time I answer him his questions, I look at. He even complained during the break that I'm not looking at him. Really? Are you going to try the case? You're trying the case. Are you going to decide the case? No. These 12 people are going to decide the case. So every time I answer a question, I would look at somebody, answer a question. Look at the next juror, answer the question. Look at the next juror. Well, it's all on this side, but every time I answer a question, I'm picking a different juror. Eyeball to eyeball. Why? Showtime, baby. Showtime. Okay? Because I was told years ago that the jurors, if it's just between the officer and the defense attorney, the jurors feel like they're left out. You got to include them. Because they're the ones going to find him guilty or not, okay? In my case, I had, I think, 2 not guilties on the 35 years I went to court. 2. One of them I knew was going to be bad. The other one was a complete surprise. But anyway, so he asked me, St. Patrick's Day. Showtime. I go, well, sir, and I'm looking at the jury like in frustration. I go, sir, I'm a Mexican, and that day has nothing meaning to me. Maybe Cinco de Mayo, I might remember the date. He looks at me, and everybody starts laughing, and he throws his pen, he just sits back down. I mean, boom, okay? He knew what to do. He just sat there. I had 4 Hispanics in the jury. 2, I think it was 3 ladies and a male, Latinas, Mexicans. They just big smile on their faces, and they're writing it down. Doesn't mean anything about the case. It has nothing to do with the case. It's a banter that he's trying to see, why can't you remember this date? And I'm telling him, I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, for crying out loud. I remember, anyway. So that was pretty good. Okay, so now that's done. Okay, so now we're going to, the trial continues, okay? And I already gave my preliminary testimony, which is the direct examination, which is what I told you. Went to the house, got the warrant, caught the guy coming out. All that's direct testimony. Then the cross-examination when we got the translator, what day do you remember, think of them, all that good stuff. Okay, so he still cross-examined me. So they're doing pretty good. Okay, they're doing pretty good. And I'm pretty cocky because I've been doing this for a while. And okay, fine. So a couple more questions, and then they go into where'd you find the guns and where'd you find the. Then he said, you seized a kilo of what is supposed to be tar heroin. Tar heroin. Okay. Yes, sir. He says, what's the approximate value of that? I said, $2.5 million. How many doses do you get out of that? And I go, here I go again. Showtime. I go, well, we don't count it as doses, sir. That's not how it's counted. Well, how's it counted? How many doses are in there? I can't answer that. There's only other way I can do it another way. Oh, that's okay. We'll just let that go. DA says, no, Your Honor, hold Your Honor, objection. Because I want the officer to explain, the detective to explain how that is done from the doses, because the jury's confused as to he can't answer that question. The officer should be able to answer the question. Well, that's okay, I'll withdraw the question. The judge says, no, I think you should be able to answer the question. Now, I'll tell you ahead of time, I'm running out of time here, but I can do this before I leave. I told the DA ahead of time that I can do a formula on butcher paper to show how I broke this amount of value down if we need to do it. He knew that. So he goes, Your Honor, we need to have a break. We need to prepare for the demonstration, if you allow it, to show the jury the breakdown. I want to see that too. I want to see that. So we'll take a break here. We'll go to lunch. We'll come back and we'll have the detective explain how he came up with the $2.5 million and also they answer the question about how many doses are in this particular kilo of tar heroin. I think I said China tar heroin earlier. I might have made a mistake. It's just tar heroin. I'm sorry. Not China white is another narcotic. I got to go. I'm out of time. We'll come right back.